Hi everyone, it's Gary Nicholson here with the Mountain Weather Information Service. This updated on Tuesday the 24th of March. Now obviously the world that we've moved into at the moment is a very abnormal one, unfortunately, and the only message that we can say is reiterating what's been put out by all the official bodies about travel restrictions at the moment. Our NWIS forecasts will continue to be issued every day, the PDFs that we put out, chiefly for the purposes of emergency personnel who may need to see the information. Basically, we've been told to continue issuing those daily forecasts until we hear otherwise. So those will still keep going out. I'll keep some videos ticking over as well as I can in the next few weeks. So I'm not quite going to go into the detail I would normally do in this video, but we're going to want to see where the weather's going. The curiosity factor is still there, so let's just see what's happening over the next 10 days or beyond. Looking at the big picture then across the North Atlantic and Europe, this is the situation on Tuesday. Two zones of high pressure to the east and the west of us, and a slow-moving front that is sandwiched in between, and that producing prolonged rainfall across the Western Isles, getting into the western northwest highlands too, and that front not going anywhere too quickly to head onwards into Wednesday. That rain and drizzle and low cloud will keep feeding in on this zone, gradually fizzling out over the next day or so, but still a legacy of murkiness and dampness across much of Scotland. Across the far northwest highlands, as chillier air moves in, freezing levels dropping to around 800 or 900 metres will mean there's some snow back on the higher tops in that area. Now pressure then very slack onwards into the middle and second half of the week, so light winds will become established across the British Isles. That front really just slowly fizzling out, there's not much left on it. Maybe by Thursday there's still a general zone of low cloud and drizzle still to be found though, but pressure is pretty high, so any precipitation not amounting to a great deal. Looking further onwards, and things starting to change by the time we get through to Friday and the weekend, as we start to see the high to the west building and the airflow coming around from the north across Scotland and a bit more from the northeast across England and Wales, and temperatures will trend downwards as that Arctic maritime air mass gets drawn in from the north, and temperatures and freezing levels this weekend will go down. A cold northeasterly wind will tend to strengthen as well, and freezing levels may well be down to 600 metres pretty widely, and there'll be some showers of snow and hail coming in, maybe not amounting to a great deal, but locally in the Cairngorms and coming into some eastern parts of, say, the Cheviots, the Pennines, North Yorkshire moors, they may just be frequent and give a dusting on the higher terrain once again. It's a strong high that's positioned out to the northwest of us, and where was this all winter, I hear you ask, because if we'd had it in the heart of winter, you really would have had a cold and snowy pattern starting to become established. But it didn't happen, instead it's doing it at the end of March. Either way, it will maintain a chill through this weekend and onwards into next week as northeasterly winds prevail. The high stays more or less to the northwest of us, largely dry across much of Scotland. We may get occasional showers and flurries of snow and hail coming into eastern parts of the Highlands and occasionally across the Pennines as well, and one or two may get further westwards out towards Wales. This onwards then into early next week, and it looks as though the high isn't really moving too far. An easterly wind across the southern half of Britain, the strongest winds for Wales and the South Pennines, the lightest winds across Scotland, where hard overnight frosts will be very common underneath clear skies and light winds. Temperatures then on the mountains staying sub-zero well onwards, I think, into the early days of next week. It may well be eventually that low pressure around Spain and Biscay starts to nudge back northwards and we just tip the wind flow a bit more southeasterly, and with time next week we might just find temperatures then just starting to lift, but a lot of dry weather on the way across the northern half of Britain well onwards into next week. Just to give you a glance at the temperatures at 850 millibars that we often look at this over the weekend, and this level is a bit too high to really represent the highest mountains. We're finding it's about 1400, 1500 metres elevation, so it's a bit higher up than Ben Nevis Summit, for example. But nevertheless, it highlights the cold air mass that's in place, and temperatures at 850 millibars then getting down to -10 at that level over this weekend. So temperatures on those highest Scottish tops down below -5, -6, maybe even a touch lower on the Cairngorm Plateau. So a very cold weekend is on the way, and it would maybe have been one to think twice about going on the mountains, regardless of situations, given the severity of the wind chill that may be around. That's the situation though. That temperature will stay cold right the way through into the start of next week, and onwards into next week it stays on the chilly side. Temperatures, though, do just relent a little bit. Almost the best thing that could happen would be that the weather conditions are not ideal for getting out, and then you feel you're not missing out on anything by not being out on the mountains. Just to finish off with, let's look just at the longer range, just tentatively on these charts. These are the pressure anomalies at middle levels in the atmosphere in week-by-week steps. This, first of all, into the first week of April, and it maintains that general message of an easterly wind with high pressure to the north and low pressure towards the south. Second week of April, looking like this. I mean, very careful once you're this far ahead, but it's just a suggestion of high pressure moving away a little bit, more, say, over towards Russia, and higher pressure maybe toward the south of Europe, with lowering pressure somewhere towards our northwest, which may just then pull back something of a mixed westerly type with time. All very tentative, but that's the thinking from the models at this stage. I'll leave it there for today. What I'll do is I'll update a video early next week just to see where the general patterns are going. In the meantime, stay safe and stay well. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.